Hey guys, it's Maymay. So why would you want to watch this video before your next paper project? Because I think many times when we go to make a paper project, we spend so much time researching the project that we don't get to spend as much time making the project, if that makes sense. So what I want to do is show you how to kind of prep yourself for upcoming projects so that you don't have to look for links and videos and templates and things like that. You'll already have them at your fingertips. So where does this come from? Okay, so you know I've started my sewing channel and I've been going back to paper patterns and things like that. And there's one thing about sewing I always did. I always had patterns stored away for me to get to so I could make a project whenever I needed it. And especially back in the day when paper patterns were the thing that we did, I never had to really go out to the internet and find it and print it and do all that kind of stuff. Well, I still do that at home. I have my little baskets of patterns and I can kind of finger through them and I just love that, right? So I thought, why don't I do that for card making or folios or every other project that we do, right? So today I'm going to take a few minutes and show you how I'm building that for myself for card making. And if you would like me to, I can bring you the same kind of thing for folios. I think it'd be fun to do it that way too. All right, so this little book, I have been singing their praises. We're going to start with card templates today and how I'm building that. These are the books from Simple Stories. They are flip books. They do like this. They have this big old hinge. And what I love about them is this hinge can actually hold up to 60 sheets, okay, 60 of the protector sheets. And today, in today's video, I'm going to show you how I did this spacer that's inside here. And stick around, I'm going to show you how to label this, okay? Also, but this is a very inclusive video, okay? Before it's over with, I'm going to show you, once we make some templates, I'm going to show you how to do the as many as technique and the mystery card technique with those templates before this video is over with. So let's flip through first. Now, this little strip right here, this guy, this is from 49 and Market. I've had these for a really long time. They're really handy, and they actually use them for their albums, but it fits here perfectly. And because of the way I have mine stored, I want to make sure none of these fall out the top, so I like adding that piece. Inside here, you will see that I'm using the 4x6 photo flaps here, and they will hold, like I've got 2 card templates, that's 2 in each pocket, so that's 4 card templates. I've got 2 in each pocket here, that's 8 card templates, and then I think I have 1 in each here, so that makes 10 card templates in 3 little spaces, and I could add 2. Then here are the 6x8 flaps, which are really cool too, because there's sometimes when you're making a card template that you don't want to fold it in half and you need to have the flat version of it. So these work well too. Now, we're going to get started today by making a few card templates. I think I'm going to go ahead and make as many as I can for the video just to show you how I do that. And then we'll have fun and I'll show you how this kind of project is going to make your crafting so much quicker. So to get myself started, I cut myself some card bases. I chose some PA cardstock that I had in my stash, and I cut it down using my We Are Cinch machine. We'll link that below. That thing's amazing. You can cut so many at one time. And these are 8.5 by 5.5. That's just my standard favorite kind of card base. I also headed out to Pinterest. I spend a lot of time on Pinterest. There are other places you can look, but I find what I need there. And I searched fun fold templates because I thought this is my fun fold or my fancy fold book, and that's what I want to try to put in there. And so I found 5 or 6 for us to do today, and we're just going to make up our samples. Now, I will be linking every single one of those posts in the description of this video because I want to give those developers, those creators love because they did a good job. What I'm trying to do for myself, though, is just create a pattern book that I can use over and over again. So here's how this is going to work for me. Let's make a template, and I'll show you my design plan. So my first one is going to be a pop-up panel card, okay? So I think what I'll do really quick is just write in this corner, pop-up panel card. Now, I have been writing A2 on them because that's kind of the base I start with, but you can change that for whatever that you do. And you can, just make this where you know what you're talking about, all right? So my template's going to look like this. I need to score at 1 7/8, 3 inches, 5.5, and then 6 5/8. And again, that is just using the information from the template that I saw, okay? So this is the basic layout. Now, before I fold this into a test pattern, I want to put the size of my little mat pieces here, okay? So if I come back here, and I know that this one is 1 7/8, I like to do 1/4 of an inch mat, like a 1/4 of an inch smaller. So I will then do 1 5/8, and I'll do by 5 1/4, because I know this is an A2 card. So this is going to be my mat measure, okay? Now, if I wanted to double mat it, I'll show you how I do this too. Let's say that's mat number 1. If I wanted to do a double mat, I would write this D and then mat, and then I would come down another size. So where I went to 1 5/8, now I'll go to 1 3/8, but my bottom number needs to change by 1/4 as well, so now it's 5. So what I'm doing for myself is I'm making this so that when I want to make a pop-up panel card, I don't have to search a link. I don't have to find a video showing me how to do it. I can pull this out of my book and get to work. All right, I'm going to finish these measures out. Another thing you can do, you see here that I wrote this on every one, even though these guys just mimic these over here. What you can do is just do one math and then do times ever how many you would need. For this, I would need it twice, and I might even want to put it on the back, so I might need it 4 times. And for this one, I would need it twice, and then I could cover here, 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 and here. Now, traditionally, I'm a person who would use this for like gluing a focal point on or something like that. And so if you're doing a card base that covers this center, you might not want to put anything here because you might just stamp here. This card base in particular pops that up, so I am going to put my dimensions here for my mats. Okay, so that is my dimensions. Now, I know I write messy, I write on a slant. You can do this any way you want. If you want to take the time, you could totally put this into your computer or do it on some software and make them where they're just printouts that you can put into your book. This is how I like to do it. It feels very hands-on. Now let's fold this guy so that I can see what this card is in my book, in my template book. So I'm going to kind of accordion fold just like this. Just bring that little flap back out. And I'm going to fold this one backwards. Crease that guy down, and then we'll bring this guy forwards. So this is the pop-up panel card. See that panel in the middle? This is no different than going out and printing off a pattern. Now I have this for future reference. So let's take this to our book. This one in particular could live in one of my A2 pockets. So let's come right back here, and I've only got, let's see, these have only one card in them, so I can add another. And what I'm trying to do is have my cards facing forward on each window. So what I mean is this is the front of this card base. I'm going to put this one in upside down so that when I look in my book, I can see the shape just by looking at it. And you can't see it on camera, but see, I can see the shape just by looking at it. All right, so that's another template. Let's do another one. For my next template, I need an A2 card base. So I'm just going to make myself a plain base here. And this one is gonna be kind of dimensional in my pocket, but I want to see this card made whenever I glance in the book. I could make up a card and save it, but what I like about this is I can write all my dimensions on the page. So let's do this. So I'm going to need my ruler for this one. By the way, this card I believe is called the split angle card. I'm not 100% sure, but it'll be in the description for you. All right, so I'm going to use my ruler. I could actually use my cut mat, and then you can see what I'm doing. I'll use the cutting mat. All right, I'll line it up here so it makes sense in that center section. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to mark 1/2 inch down in this top corner. So 1/2 inch there. And then I'm going to come down 1/4 inch, just like that. Then on this side, I'm going to come down 3 inches, 1, 2, 3, make a pencil mark. And then I'll come in 3 inches from the bottom. Now remember, I have the template I'm looking at, so that makes this easier for me. And when you're picking out your templates, you'll be looking at those too to be able to create these guys. Now, this guy, I'm going to connect my little pencil marks from here to here. Just like so. Didn't quite get that one connected. So that is our basic template. Before I cut this up, I want to make my marks, okay, or make my information marks. So I'm going to write 1/2 inch here. So I know that this mark is at 1/2 inch, and I'm going to write 3 inches but I'm also going to draw my arrow down so I know that this comes down to 3 inches, okay? Then I'm going to draw an arrow in to 3 inches, like so. So when I cut this apart, I will know. And this one is 3/4 of an inch down, okay? Now I'm going to cut this guy apart. I'm going to cut him on my drawn lines because that's where we would start if we were making this any other way. Put these over here. Now I'm going to go to my card base, and I'm going to lay this out on my card base. So I've got that one. I have this one. And then I have this one. And this is going to let me get a look, kind of a feel for what this card will do, okay? And I'm going to slide this one down a little bit because it's a little high. I'm going to tack this down, and I will be able to see this when I pull this out. And when I go, ooh, that's the card I want to make, all my measures are there, and I can see that it sinks in on the page, and I can kind of design my card based on my measures. So let's glue this down. And here's another thing. Maybe you don't want to glue it down. Let's do this. I don't know. Maybe when I go to make this card, I wish I could take these panels off and lay them on some cardstock or something like that. This is another thing I like to do with my yellow tape, and I will show you. So that this is a template and it's not permanent. I'm going to take this, stick it to the back. Remember, this is going to live in my little binder book, so it'll be safe. Everything will stay in place. And I can place this down, and then when I go to design, if for some reason, maybe there's a pattern on the page I want to get in a certain place or something like that, I can then take these off the page and use them to help me lay it out. So I'll put some here, and we'll stick this guy down. And one more. So now that is another template. I need to write the name on this one. This is the Angle Cut Card A2. This can go in our book now. I'll be honest with you. There are times in my paper crafting life where I am not inspired, where I'm just I don't have anything I need to be making for. I don't have anything that I'm just inspired to do, and I want to get into the craft room and cut paper or create. And this is one of those things you can do. If you have kind of lost your mojo, do this, because suddenly the world is open to me. You guys will know that I'm doing my prayer map this year. It's my Card Maker's Prayer Map. This is going to come in so handy when I want to do a different kind of fold, but I don't have all the time to research the pattern. It'll be handy right for me. All right, now for this next one, I need a bigger card base. Do you guys ever buy those multi-packs of cardstocks, like those 12 by 12s, those 8.5 by 11s that have the multi-colors in them? This guy on camera is not showing the actual color that it is. It is a bright, bright orange, but it's not showing up the same here. This is a color I typically would not use in my regular crafting. And because I'm going to make a template, rather than use my good cardstock, sometimes I'll use these kind of cardstocks, especially when I'm designing folios. So this was a 12 by 12, and I cut it down to 5.5 by 12, okay? So that's where we're gonna start, and I'm gonna make those marks. So I wanna tell myself that this is a piece that is 5.5 by 12 to start, okay? Now let's get out our scoreboard. This is an angle trifold card. I'm not exactly sure the title. I'll look that up before we get to the end of it, but I'm gonna put this into my scoreboard. And I'm going to score this at 4 inches and at 8 inches. And then I'm going to make some pencil marks. On this corner of my template, I need to measure up 2 inches. So this is 5.5. So I'll go 4.5, 3.5, and I'm going to make a mark at 3.5 inches. I'm going to write here that this is 2 inches, and I measured up, okay, from this corner. And then we're going to make a diagonal line. These score marks I don't have to trace, but so you can see them on camera, I'm going to do that so it makes sense to you. So there's our score marks, okay? Now, the little mark we made 2 inches up and this second score mark, we want to connect those two. So I'll just draw a line across just like that. And then we will cut this away. We don't need this for this one. You could just write cut. That's what the template that I saw online said. It just said cut line. But I'm going to put this in the book so I can remember it, okay? So let's cut it. Now right here, I'm going to write 4 and I'm going to write 8 so I can remember my score marks there. And if there's any other thing you want to make a note of, you can. You could make notes of your mat sizes, especially here. This one's easy. This mat is going to be 4 by 5.5. On this particular template, she was so kind to even give me the measures for these pieces. So what I'll do here is I'm going to write just like she did, inside piece. And this one is 3 3/4 by 3 1/2. And I'll do that on all of these. Now, the other thing that she did on the template was she showed me what my up measurement is on these guys, because what you'll do is when you cut this piece, you'll measure up and then do that angle across so you can get your mat piece. So what I'm going to do is write cut up by her measurement, which was 1 3/4 on this one. Then here, her measure was 3 1/2. And this one, of course, doesn't have it because it's flat. Now, do you see how handy this is? This is going to be so nice to have all of this done. I won't have to search for it. I can fold this up like it's supposed to be folded. And when I'm going through my card template book, I can be like, oh, I want to make that one today. It'll be perfect. It also, this is another thing I really love. If you're like me and you have a lot of stamp sets, or maybe you have a lot of ephemera or die cuts and things like that, this is going to be a neat place for you to go. I'm going to take that die cut or that ephemera pack and then look into my card bases and see which one would showcase it the best. Let's say you have an ephemera pack with a bunch of flowers. Wouldn't it be cute to layer flowers on each of these levels? And then when the card opens, it has all those little flowers. So that's another example. We'll be able to turn to our patterns for our supplies and vice versa. All right, in the book. Now, all my 4x6 sleeves are full right now. I will add more in a little bit, but for now, I'm just going to put that there so I don't lose it. All right, let's do another one. Now, this is one I'm going to be glad to have a template of. This is a sidestep card. They've been around a long time, and I find every time I want to make one, I have to go find a video and find the measurements. It might even be my own video, but I have to go find it, get the measurements, etc. We're going to make this happen for us easy, okay? So this is an 8.5 by 5.5 piece. I'm going to score it in half at 4 1/4. That is the center of our card, okay? Now we have to do a little bit of marking, a little drawing, okay? What we're going to do is at the top here, along this side, I'm going to make some pencil marks. I'm going to mark it 2 inches. I'm going to mark it 4 inches. I'll mark it 5 1/4, 6 1/2, and 7 1/2. Do not worry about keeping these measures. All the blog posts are going to be linked. You can get these plus the pictures whenever you get ready to do that, okay? Now I'm going to turn this sideways, and still using my scoreboard, I'm going to measure in 2 1/2 inches, and I'm going to use my ruler here to help me out. Now, from this 2-inch mark to this 7 1/2 inch mark, I need to make a line 2 inches in. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to start at 2 and come down to 7 1/2. Now, I want to show you something. I'm a little off, but that's because my ruler does not start at 0. So I'm just going to come right back up and make that mark so it'll match. Just like that, okay? Then I'll turn this sideways, and I'm going to connect those 2 lines. We'll connect our bottom line, and that gets us started. The next thing I want to do is I want to draw all of these lines in as well. To get straight lines on your templates, use your ruler grid lines to your advantage. Do you see how I can use this to line up along that bottom line and make sure I'm getting a nice straight mark? Use that to your advantage. I do that in sewing as well. In sewing, we look through our rulers a lot, and you can do that here and get the same accurate results. All right, now let's make some pencil marks. So we know that this line comes in 2 1/2, okay? This is 2, this is 4, this is 5 1/4, this is 6 1/2, and this is 7 1/2. I'm also going to tell myself the size of this. This is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, so I wrote that here. Now, these lines are score lines, and this line is a cut line, okay? So I'm going to write cut here. Now, I'm also going to make the cuts and make the scores and the folds for it to be my template to show me what to do later. So let's do our score lines. So we're going to take this guy right here, and we're going to score this 2-inch line down to 2.5, this 4-inch line down, this 5 1/4 line down, 6.5 down, and also 7.5. So my scores are made, okay? And I already had my center line for my card. Now let's go to our trimmer and cut that other piece. This is also good practice. Let's say you've never made a card like this before and you just wanted to see what it's like. This is great practice to make that happen. All right, I'm going to put my blade along that line, and I'm going to cut down to 7.5, and I'll cut up to 2. Now let's do our folding. So this guy right here, our 4 1/4 line is not going to get folded there. We're going to fold at 4. So what we'll do, we're going to make this a pop-up card. So this first one goes back. The next one comes up. Then we go back. Then we come up. And then we go back. Now what's going to happen here? We're going to line everything up, and we're going to neatly fold that down. See how easy that is? And doing this gives us that sample to try. And it also gives us a perfect place to lay out our design before we make it in our real cardstock. So I'll lay this flat, I'll title it, and we'll put it in the book. So now that I have my templates into my book, it's not full, but I want to show you what can happen. Do you see at the back how these pages don't have anything in them? If you look on the side here on my binding, you'll see that little strip there does not have anything in it. I'm trying to get it where it'll focus for you guys. Let me get my hand up here. So that little strip is nice and flat on the edge. However, the more I filled it up with it flat, the more my book started to pop, you know, like the classic kind of we've overfilled a book. So I decided I wanted to do dividers inside of here, and my camera's on. There we go. It didn't want to focus. I decided to do these little dividers. Let me show you how I created those. So this is how this little guy opens. And by the way, you can do this with anything that works for you. These are just so handy to me. I just fell in love with them. All right, let's take out the ones that are not divided. These are my extras, okay? You see this piece here? This is a piece of black chipboard. And it doesn't have to be black. It's just what I had. What I did was I cut a piece that's 5/8 of an inch wide by 8.5 tall, and that was just enough to live here. Then I took one of my pages, one of my little binder or my photo flat pages, and I traced the hole onto my chipboard like so, and then I punched a hole. So I just used my little crocodile and punched a hole just like that to make myself these dividers. Now the cool thing is you can get a lot from one piece of chipboard, and you can see how much it gave me space in there. I don't know that you need it between every single page. I think you could probably do it between every other. I did place one between every page, and it worked really well. But again, I think you can do whatever works for the width or the thickness of your book. Now we're going to come back, and I'm going to show you how we will label that spine in just a little bit, but I'm going to close this down for now while we talk about, or I show you, how we put this book into practice. That's what I want to do next. So let's get started with that. So you've got a paper pack and you want to play with it, and you don't know where to start, but you know you need to make a lot of cards, or maybe you're making invitations or something like that. This is what you'll do. You'll go to your book, okay, and we'll flip through and we'll just see what style of card we want to use for this kind of paper. So I'm just going to flip through and see which one I want to do. So I decided to do the pop-up panel card. I think it'll be pretty for this paper, and I can kind of show it off. So if you're doing this as mini-as style, what you'll want to do is you'll want to decide what card base to use based on your cardstock. What I mean by that is maybe you have a card paper pack that has a lot of cut-aparts in it, like these, and maybe you want to feature these on the card. Then you kind of look at this and go, what card works best with this cut-apart, okay? But let's just say you have really pretty cardstock like this one, and it will work in a lot of different ways. I can pick the card base I want to do and then put pretty cardstock on it, and I know it's going to work. So either technique you decide to do is going to work. I want to show you the mystery one today, okay? So here's what I'm going to do. And it's not 100% a mystery. It kind of is. I love this page. It is so beautiful. And you see on the back, it's also very pretty. The thing I'm going to pay attention to for the mystery style is I don't want a pattern orientation. So this page can be turned in any way, and this page can be turned in any way. And I want to get a couple of pages that will coordinate. That one's beautiful, but I want something a little more bold. So here's what I chose to work with. I love this together, and on the back side, the patterns are pretty simple, so I can mix them as I go. And here's what I'm going to do. I know that I need wider pieces for this section, and then thinner pieces for this section. But my height is the same, so this is really cool. So I'm going to cut some strips that are 5 1/4 tall from these pages. So I can lay these out, put them into my trimmer, and cut them 5 1/4. And this is 12-inch paper, so I should be able to get 2 of these 5 1/4-inch strips. And I should be able to use this, and I'll show you how. This paper pack in particular is one that doesn't cut off at 12 inches. It actually carries over because it's, glue bound on the edges. So what I'm going to do is take this piece and see if I can get 2 more 5 1/4-inch pieces. And I can. There's that guy, and then we'll do this guy. So I really get more from this pack. And look how cute that is. We could use that as a tag. It's already got a hole in it. Wouldn't that be cute to be a gift tag? Let me separate them. You've got 2 of them. Use those as a little gift tag. Super cute. Then what we're going to do is come back to these guys. So now I basically have 2 measures here. I've got 1 5/8 by 5 1/4 and 7/8 by 5 1/4. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take 2 of these pieces and I'm going to cut. So when I say 2 pieces, let me show you, stacked up on top of each other. I'm going to cut them to this top measure, 1 5/8 by 5 1/4. I've already got 5 1/4, so let's put this to 1 5/8, and I'm going to cut as many as I can, get it as many as from this page. Here's another little tip for you. If you struggle with 8s, 5/8, 7/8, things like that, find it on your trimmer and mark it with some tape, washi or yellow, either one. And that way you know every time you're going to the same spot and you won't lose any paper that way. Because we can make accidental cuts easy enough, right? I spoke about this 100 times in my videos, but another way to be very accurate, place your cardstock in, reset it every cut, and make sure you press it to the stop bar at the top. And when you cut from the bottom up. What that does is it pushes your cardstock to the stop bar and it keeps it nice and level, especially as we get here to the smaller pieces, and you have a lot less opportunity to pull this guy off balance. I'll show you what I mean. If I were to lay it here and pull my blade down, I have the chance to pull my cardstock away, but by pushing up, I'm putting it nice and stable against the top. All right, so there's one stack done in our larger measure. Now what I'm going to do is take the other piece. Matter of fact, let me see what size this turned out to be. I think this might be 5/8. It's pretty close to 5/8, so I'll put that one aside. Now I'm going to take this other stack. This is my other 2 pieces. And I'm going to cut them down to our other measure, which is 7/8 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to move this to 7/8. Just like so. And I will cut every single time to 7/8. This is not my favorite way to do this. Let me show you. I'll just stop mid-go. I prefer to do my smaller pieces on this side of my trimmer. So I'm going to run this into 7/8. Stick it down like so. I just find that I can hold on to them easier from this side, and I'll lay this at 7/8 and slice. In an effort to save cardstock, these were the first cuts I did. I was able to get 7 of these, okay? Instead of just slicing this all the way down, if you don't want to make as many as you possibly can, just make yourself 7 stacks. That way you know you can finish 7 cards, and we have a bigger piece left over that we can use for something else. I'll show you what we end up with. So you see here, that's 7, and I end up with this left over, which is very usable for another card. So if I don't want to slice this up, I can put these aside, and I know I can make 7 cards with what I got. Using my template, I'm going to make 7 card bases. So back to the trimmer. Don't need my tape now. I'm going to be using my template as my guide. This is why I love having these pre-done. So we'll pick up one of our card bases. Now, you probably noticed that I forgot this. I didn't pay attention, but I also didn't write my scores at the top. So make sure you do that, or you'll be like me and having to find it the day you use the template. You can always just measure it. But here's the deal. I got to do 1 7/8 as a score mark, 3 inches, 5 1/2, and 6 5/8. And I need 7 of these. So let me get those made real quick. Another thing we can do with our books is we can pre-score these guys like these, add our template on top, put them into our storage books and have them for later. That's another great tip. Maybe you're going to a crop and you don't want to have to do all of that. You just want to get there and start playing. That's a great way to make that happen. All right, let's go through here and let's show what a mystery card does. I just cut these pieces. I did not stress about what was on either side. So I can put these stripes on one side, like so. Then I can take our thinner pieces, which are the florals, or could be the florals. We'll take the florals out. I can put those here. Isn't that pretty? I love this paper. So gorgeous. Just like so. Or, because I can use both sides because I paid attention, maybe this card looks like this, and it has a lacy feature here. And then this one has this pattern. So these are mystery cards. We can do whatever we want. We can flip them around, turn them around. So this is a very soft, delicate card. Or, and I think this one's going to be pretty, we take that one away and we use the floral here with the trellis kind of pattern. And I think that's really pretty together. I think there's lots of ways you could mix this up, but isn't that cool? You could even, well, that's the same side. Hang on. You could even go back to the stripe and do it with the trellis. Isn't that pretty? You could do them differently. So this is where you get to play. All your pieces are going to work, and we can put them all on the cards and see what we come up with, but you can play around. So let me glue these down, and we'll get back together. So I got all of them covered, and then I cut out a piece for the center, and I thought this piece was really pretty. It's kind of delicate, and it kind of matched all of them. And I cut out the cut-aparts from that paper pack. These made really pretty cards really easily. So if you needed wedding cards, that's what I did with this pack. But if you needed even Valentine's Day or I love you, this pack would work. And you could completely not use any of the I love you or the kind of sentimental pieces of it and turn it into an everyday kind of card pack. But I love how this looks. So this piece, what I did was I cut a little gold piece to go behind it to give it a little pop off the page. And when you place it down, you just center it on that panel in the middle, and then this card becomes this. Let me open it. It becomes this sort of card that stands up. You can put all your sentiments and things on the back. You could even put more cardstock, which I might back here. I don't know, but I think this is really pretty. And look how simple. Now look how many we were able to get. Obviously 7, because that's what we had prepped for, so you were here for that. But I went ahead and did these off camera so I could show you. But aren't they pretty? And all of this is from the cardstock I showed you, or I cut for you to see how I cut it. All simple, all just laid out in different ways. This one in particular, look, all 4 panels are different, and I think it might be my favorite card that I did with all 4 panels different. So that is 7 cards made using our little template. Now what you need to make is a book for your finished cards, right? So we've got that book for templates, but wouldn't it be cool to have one of those little books where we could slip these finished cards in and flip through and pick out the ones we want? A book might not be the best idea, maybe a box. So maybe that's coming in the future, we'll see. But isn't that neat? And we did it all using our template that we pulled from the book, and we sat down and played without having to do any extra math. It was all done for us. Let me show you how I would label the book, because that's the other thing you guys had asked about. Okay, so for labeling the side, when I was looking on the internet for ideas to do flip books, I saw this one that someone did. What they did was they measured the size of their book, okay, and then added 5/8 of an inch or more. You could add a little more if you wanted to, at the top and at the bottom. So that's what I have here. I've measured the width of my book and added the 5/8. Now, your book is going to grow over time, so you'll have to remake these, so don't be super precious. Notice the cardstock I'm using. It is not a precious cardstock. I am going to score 5/8 on one side and 5/8 on the other. Now, here's the thing. I have already loaded all of my chipboard into here, and it's really nice and snug. So I am not going to pull all these pages off to make this happen. This is just going to be a label for me. Let me show you what I am going to do. I'm going to take one of the pocket pages, and I'm going to lay it on that 5/8 inch section of our piece, and I'm going to circle those holes. This will show me where to poke my holes with my hole punch. So you can put this in later, especially if you're not going to be putting in those chipboard pieces, but you can still do what I'm going to do right now. Let's make the holes. I'm going to go ahead and fold these pieces in. Then, because I'm kind of going to cheat this, on this end, I'm going to slice up to these holes so that my little binder piece can slide in there. I won't have to do that to the bottom ones because I'm just going to slip them over like this. So we'll just slip this just like so. And like I said, you'll have to edit this as your book grows anyway. Then these pieces, I'm just going to slide in. And this might take a little bit of finagling to get it in there. Had you done it before you put all your chipboard pieces in, talking to myself now, this would be a lot easier. So I got that to pop in. Do you see that? And then I can place this guy back on. And honestly, I think doing that way where it just kind of slides in is a good way to do it, no matter how thick your book is. It's going to stay. In the video I watched where the young lady did this, she actually glued this into place. I don't want to glue it because I'm probably going to have to change it over time. But look what happens. Then we end up with this nice smooth edge. Now, if I were making an album and it was going to be permanent, I would definitely just glue that in and leave it there. But isn't that nice? Now we have a place where we can label the side. Now, if that's more than you want to deal with, I would just do a little label right here or just on the front, just so you can have that so you know what's inside. Okay, guys, we did a lot today. We made 5 templates. We made 7 cards. We talked about our book. We talked about mystery cards. We talked about as many as. I really think that you're going to enjoy having this for you to lean on over and over again. It makes perfect sense to me to sit down and go through here and not have to open anything, plug anything up, find any links, do anything. It's all right here for us. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. You're going to see this again. I'll be using it in videos. I'll be making more templates and adding to it over time. If you would like to see a video that I'm calling a card making masterclass, check out our live show from Thursday night. We'll link it below. That show, I went over what greeting card cuts are, some cards you need to know by heart, some folds that are actually in here that I added into my template book. You'll be able to see some of those in there, and you won't miss out on what we already added to the book. Hey, thanks so much for being here. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. If you're putting templates in, make some of the cards and show us on our customer gallery at maymaymadeit.com or our Facebook group, Maymay Made It and So Did I. Until next time, bye now.